There you
All right, I'm here with Vagner Rocha, and we're gonna have a little conversation here. I haven't talked to you I feel like I haven't talked to you in a while extensively. How have you been, brother?
I've been good. Working hard, keeping life and friends and family close. Working to get better every day.
Awesome. How's your gym doing?
It's amazing, man. I can't even describe, how blessed I am to have the amount of people that surround me and help me grow and help me continue to run that place the way it does.
That's awesome. Are you still teaching every class?
I am not. Believe it or not, listen to this. I am this last 2 weeks. I have not taught one class
What?
because I've been focusing on trying to get as much as I can in for ADCC come September 17th. So I hired a couple people to take in the classes that I was teaching, and I haven't taught a class in 2 weeks. And that's the first 2 weeks of my whole life that I haven't taught a class. Where I used to teach all the classes, and then my friend Matt Arroyo was like, "That's not smart. That's not business. That's a job. That's
Yes.
not a business. That's a job." And I was like, "He's right. That isn't a business. This is a job. I got a job that I have." And then I was at one class a night, um, and I was teaching always the 6 p.m. classes, and then I added two classes like Monday and Wednesday for competition group where I was kind of involved, but I was more training than I was teaching, I guess.
Mhm.
And even those I'm not participating. I'm not in any of them, but I am there. Like I'm on the mats. So there's people teaching, but I'm in the gym drilling and doing specific stuff for the tournament to come.
That's awesome. Yeah, so let's talk about Abu Dhabi and your training, but let's start with the weight class. So you're going up, you're doing 193 now, and I noticed it was like maybe like a year or two ago, you just went from like 170 to like almost 200 pounds, like it seemed like in a few months. So what made you want to go up a weight class, and what are you doing to actually sustain that weight? Because your body is not used to that weight, it seems.
Um, so during COVID, I before COVID, I was a vegetarian, and I wasn't always a vegetarian. I ate decent, like kind of clean and not, and I always ate meat. Brazilians love steak, and it's kind of part of our culture: rice, bean, steak, that kind of heavy food. And I had been kind of on a very uh, vegetarian. I'm not gonna say vegan, but vegetarian and even some vegan, eating type habits. And I got really lean for like 3 years, like from like um, 2019 to 19 to 16 or 15, I was like just doing this diet, just really dedicated to it. Because one, when I was fighting MMA, I was at 155, and I wanted to be a lighter weight to get to that weight class. And I felt like 170 was the weight that I had to hold for my body to do well. So I had to figure out alternative ways to eat so that I could hold that weight well, because I'm pretty tall for that weight class. And now that I look at it and I watch old videos of me fighting, I'm like, man, I was a giant at 170, you know? And so I kept that weight low. I kept my weight at 170, and I always fought ADCC at 170, and I never even cut any weight to make that weight. And then during the pandemic, being at home a lot, I started doing barbecuing, like Brazilian barbecue, where I was coming out of the grill and just making steak and just kind of like got into eating, meat again. And I was home and I wasn't training. I spent like 2 months at home, just basically not training and eating. And I was working out a little bit, and kind of rolling around with my kids, my son and daughter, which it's still rolling, but it's not like as intense. And especially as intense as I like to train. I train pretty intensely every day, and I gained like 25 pounds. I was like 195 pounds, and I looked at the scale. I remember thinking like, oh my god, how did this happen? Like, how did it happen so fast too? And because I wasn't eating any meat, and then I went from not eating any meat to I ate meat. I must say 1 week I ate meat every day. Like I was just like every day on the grill doing something with meat, And then I was like, you know what? I'll get the weight off, no problem. And I went into the training room and I trained a couple times, and I was kind of like felt different. My body just felt bigger. I felt stronger. I felt harder to move, and I was like, man, maybe this is a good thing. I'm like, let's keep it for a little while. Let's see. I got plenty of time, so I can make a decision whether I'm going to keep this weight or not. And then somebody asked me if I wanted to have a match. I believe it was with Craig Jones first, and it was Craig Jones in Submission Underground. Yeah, and I was like, yeah, you know what? I'll do that. And Craig's like 215 now, and so we had the match, and I felt good in the match. I was like, you know what? I didn't feel terrible. He couldn't really move me around, and I was like, you know what? I kind of like this weight. And then I got another invitation for another match on Who's Number One against Ronaldo Souza,
Yeah.
and I was like a week's notice, so I went out of that, and I'm like, you know what? I did good there. I felt good, and I said, you know what? All right, I like this. And then like a couple weeks later, I got another invitation to fight Shanji Ribeiro, and all these guys are like the next weight class over, and I'm like, this is a sign. This has got to be a sign. Like I'm like fighting some of the best guys in the world in the next weight class up. I'm like, and I'm not doing bad. I won 2 out of the 3 matches. I won against Shanji and Ronaldo Souza, and then with Craig, I lost in overtime EBI rules, which I really don't count those as losses because in regulation time it was an even match.
Mm-hmm.
So to me, it's like I was like, you know what, I had good results, in a different weight class, and then just a realization came over me. I'm like, you know what, I fought everybody at 170. I'm like, let's try this out. Let's change this up. Let's see where I can go with this. And I started, and I fought, I fought John Blank. I fought Josh Hinger. I fought a bunch of other guys inside a short period of time inside those weight classes. Pedro Marino, a bunch of guys in the attack. I just started fighting everybody that could be inside that weight class, and I said, you know what, I'm here. Like this is for me. Like I could do this, and I made the change in my mind, and my body was already changed, so it just felt right. Now we're a month away from ADCC, and the weight's good. I'm literally walking around at 193, 194.
Nice.
And I'm, training as hard as I can, and doing everything I've done all the years before to get as close, as ready as I can to be at my best.
So will this be your 4th Abu Dhabi?
2011 was the first one I participated in, and then I did 11. I missed 13 because I got hurt. I did 15. So I did 11, 15, 17, 19. This will be my 5th.
So in 11, you didn't place, and then you got 3rd in 2017, and then 2nd in 2019. So
Yes,
this
sir.
year, you're going to get first. You're supposed to get first.
That's the math is the first year I went, I lost in the first round.
Yeah.
The second year I went, I lost in the second round. The third year I went, I lost in the third round. The fourth year I went, which is last year, the last one that I got second in, I lost in the finals, which is the 4th round of the tournament.
And that was JT Torres, right? You were facing.
Yeah, by the results and the math, yeah, I'm supposed to win this time.
But this will be the first time you're doing the 193, 88 kilos, correct?
That will be the first time, man.
So I'm looking here at all the people in this division, and Mo posted this a few days ago, and I commented, I said, I can't see how Vagner doesn't win this. I mean, not to take away, this is these guys are studs. I'm looking at them right now. You got Matthias, Denise, Xande Ribeiro, who you've already beaten, Lucas Barboza, Mason Fowler, yourself, Ty Ruotolo. Did you face him? I feel like you faced one of those.
I did. I faced Ty at 77 right after the ADCC 2019. I took him down. He threw up a fake triangle. It was fight to win rules. They gave him the match, but
Oh
I
shit.
took him
Okay.
down and I held him down, and in the scramble of me holding down, he popped up a triangle that wasn't even, it never even formulated or locked. But they said, oh, because it's
Submission attempt.
submission, submission attempt, it counts. That's the reason why he won. I'm like, come on, man.
John Blank,
That's fine.
who's very good, who you've already beaten. Josh Hinger, who's very good, who you've already beaten. This guy Giancarlo Bardoni, I haven't heard much about him until just like the
I
last
beat
year or
him.
two. You
I
beat him
beat him
too?
at Nogi Worlds this last year.
All right, you got Nicky Rod's little brother, Jacob Rodriguez, who's I think what, a blue belt or a purple belt, but he's just obviously like Nicky Rod, just a stud wrestler and
Yeah, he's got endless cardio and decent wrestling.
good pressure.
Yeah.
Asak, I'm not pronouncing this right. Asak Bahinsi, who I don't know who that is. He probably won the Brazilian trials.
Isaac is a Brazilian world champion in the gi. Very,
Okay.
very good gi fighter.
Okay.
Won the Brazilian trials, the first Brazilian trials. I know everybody in that division, so if you say the name, I'll tell you what I know.
Okay. Yeah. Eve O'Flanagan. Johan O'Flanagan. He must have won
He won the European trials. Very good at leg locks.
like lock.
Very actually good. Very good game. This guy. I think he's one of those guys that people are not really paying attention to. Is very good.
Okay. Nice. And then Isaac Mitchell from looks like you. Is it the UK? No. Who's that?
Isaac is Craig Jones's I guess little brother. They're
Oh.
not related, but
Okay.
he's Australian. He's very good at leg locks too, wrestling. He got a complete game. Good all around.
Okay.
The guy
Santeri.
who won the full grappling. Who's next? You're not watching that apparently.
Okay. Oh, that's the kid who had the 3 hour match with
Yeah,
Space.
with with the guy from Eddie Bravo's.
Yes.
I forgot his name now too.
Wesley Snipes.
Yeah, Wesley Snipes. Yeah, that's messed up, but it's funny. That's
Yeah,
exactly right. He is Wesley Snipes' clone.
it's freaking great. Santeri Lilius.
European trial winner.
Okay. So these up and comers. Alexandre Jesus, Brazilian,
Brazilian trials winner.
and Bob Frias. Never heard of
I have
him.
no idea. Never heard of
So,
Bobby.
I mean, I don't know. I mean, in my opinion, maybe the tougher matches would be Barbosa and Matthias Denise, just because their experience and their pressure and strength at the weight class. But I mean,
Mateus, Denise, Lucas Barbosa, Mason Fowler, and Tyro Tolo, Josh Hinger, myself. You got to believe Sean G is there too in that conversation. Those are the guys that are at the top of the food chain in the bracket.
yeah,
The three that I mentioned first, I feel like they're all coming from dropping a lot of weight to get to the weight classes.
yeah,
Mason was minus 99 trials champion and fought in the Brazilian gi tournament, Brazilian Nationals tournament about a month ago at heavyweight. You know, so he's a big guy who I feel is gonna feel the weight cut. Barbosa too. You know, he's fought minus 99. He's coming down. You know, and Mateus Denise looked scrawny as hell last time he won the 88. Like he looked different even.
yeah.
You know, he's big. You know, he's another big kid that comes down. So I mean, these guys, you know, when they this tournament is so much pressure and it's, you know, if you're not physically at your best, it's just a hard day. You know.
Absolutely. Yeah. No, I mean,
Tyro Tolo is also a very big threat because he's very hungry. You know, he's one of those new generation young boys that just says he got something to prove to everybody. You know, even though I feel like he's already proven himself, I still feel like he still fights like he has got something to prove.
yeah,
And he's complicated. So you know, there's a lot of killers in there.
there really is. So
Plus
how's your
plus all the other guys who, you know, we didn't talk about that. You know, they won these trials. Like nobody who wins the trials is soft. You know, like you win a trials in any country, you're the best of that country. You know, so it's these are all guys that got something to got history to make. So everybody's coming in with a purpose, with a goal.
Absolutely. How's your training going? Have you done anything different? Are you working on anything new? I know your leg lock defense is always solid. I don't ever really worry about guys getting you in leg locks. What are you working on? Is everything going good for you for the last few months?
Yeah, I'm sharpening up the things I do well. Trying to get my wrestling on point, get my pressure on point, get my physical body on point. Make sure that the machine is running smoothly. So I've been strength conditioning well, consistently, and doing 2 to 3 times a week of good wrestling classes. Doing a lot of no-gi and getting a lot of rest and doing homework. Studying everybody, just doing the things I always do every year. Leading up to the tournament.
Who are you working with on your wrestling?
We've been training down here with Pat Downey, and also been working with my old coach Manuel Garcia, who he's an amazing coach, and I've been working with him for years. He's always been one of the reasons why my wrestling's been great, and then I think we added Pat, who's just a phenomenal wrestler, and he wrestled at the weight class that I'm in. At ADCC, he wrestled at Olympic trials, Olympics, and this guy's he's by far the best wrestler I've ever even stood in front of. When I wrestle him, I honestly feel like genuinely like a white belt. Like I don't know how to wrestle. Like he does things effortlessly, and he just does it with so much ease. You know how when you wrestle people, you always feel like the really good wrestlers are just straight brutes, and all they want to do is run you over.
Yeah.
This guy is so different, Matt. When he grabs you, honestly, it doesn't feel like he's gonna hurt you, and you just don't get away. And every time you transition, he smoothly turns corners and just shifts his body and just takes your legs out and just puts you down. And it's like it almost makes you want to cry. Like the first time I wrestled him, I was just like, this has got to be a joke. I'm like, I thought I was just having a really bad day. And then I wrestled him again, and I was like, nope, no. I'm not really having like the next time I wrestled him, I was fresh. I was like, I'm not having a bad day. This guy is just like the next level wrestling.
Wow.
And then I told Cyborg this. It was funny as hell. I told Cyborg, he's like, bro, you got to wrestle this guy. He's like, yeah. Cyborg always kind of brushes me off. He's like, yeah. I said, no, I'm going to bring him over. You got to wrestle him. He's so good. He's like, okay. And then I did it on purpose. I was like, hey, you're going to see he's like, best wrestler I've ever wrestled with. He's like, okay. And then I brought him over one day in the morning when we trained, and Cyborg is like, he's the kind of guy who doesn't even warm up. He like slaps his face, steps on the mat, and goes. So I'm like, Pat, go with Cyborg. Pat's like, all right. Bro, Pat took Cyborg down like, I think 8 times in 6 minutes.
Wow.
Just kept taking him down, and like, there's a size difference between them, even though you may not see it. Pat's like 195 to 205 at the most on a bad day. But he's just so big. Like when I stand next to him, I'm like, how the hell did this guy ever make 195? Or he made 86 kilos in wrestling in the Olympics. Like I don't even know how. Like it doesn't make sense when I look at him how big he is. How he must have like frail bones or something, because he's got so much muscle mass on his body, and the way he moves, he's like a cat. So when he finished wrestling, Cyborg just looked at me and just shook his head like, bro, I've never felt that before. I'm like, I told you, like I wasn't making this up. It's just like he's like an elastic person. Like it's weird. He bends and folds and then just reappears. Yeah, it's just bizarre. If you get, I hope one day you get a chance, you'll blow your mind. You'll be like, wow, like I didn't think it was like that. And I've learned so much with him because he's kind of the kind of guy who you can wrestle with, and he's fun. He's not like, like I said, like most wrestlers that are really high level, they're
brutal.
Stupid. They're brutes. Yeah, they're brutes. They're just running you over and just, clubbing, pushing. He's the kind of guy, he told me the first time I trained him, he goes, I don't believe in sprawling.
Sprawling?
Sprawling. He goes, I don't believe in sprawling. He goes, if you shoot, I should lose you in the process when you shoot. Like when you shoot into his legs, he literally, I show you videos. I shoot on him, and he just kind of like moves me and puts me in another position. Like it's unreal how good this guy is. And his wrestling to me, more than I believe he's amazing at wrestling. I think his wrestling, if he learned jiu-jitsu, would blend into jiu-jitsu so fast and so easy because his wrestling feels like a really good jiu-jitsu guy, like a loose jiu-jitsu guy. Like how you watch Mika Galvon kind of move.
Yeah.
If you've watched him, he moves like a bigger version of Mika with flexibility and movement. It's just weird.
Wow.
He's literally bizarre, and I don't think wrestlers. I don't think I mean I've never really wrestled with anybody in this era that was at the level he was. You know what I mean? Like the guys I've wrestled at that level, or they're older and they've already their time's passed. Like his time hasn't really passed. He's still kind of involved, and he's just bizarre. It's cool because I feel like I'm getting this opportunity right now, right before this event, which favors so much wrestling.
Oh yeah, that's perfect. Perfect. Who are your main training partners for jiu-jitsu for the tournament?
Oh, there's a lot of guys here, and I believe that in jiu-jitsu it's just a matter of just repetition, and you don't even have to have really, really sharp, good guys. But if you have just enough, that can challenge you, I get Cyborg and this guy João who won the Brazilian Trials, and Andre who got third at the Brazilian and second at the Brazilian Trials. I got my son Achilles, who's up and coming, and I got a bunch of students that are just very good black belts. A lot of good black belts in the gym. Been doing a lot of shark tanking, trying to get myself, in that mind of like, all right, you're tired, let's go.
Yeah. So is Mika Gaval still there?
Mika's in Brazil. He'll be here in the United States this week. He fights on the Who's Number One card with Gordon and Felipe Pena.
Oh, okay.
But he's been in Brazil. He traveled a good part, like a good 80% of this year, like between seminars and tours and tournaments. He was in Polaris last month. He did an event in Italy with me. So he had to go home and spend some time at home because this kid is genuinely the next Marcelo Garcia of jiu-jitsu. Like,
you think
not
so?
Exaggerating. I know so. I felt it.
What does he feel like? Why is he so good? What is his deal?
He's just so acrobatic and so technical and so smart for his age. He's 19, but if you have a conversation with him, you would think he's 35. And he's genuine, good kid, just like good, kind-hearted person. Like, but his level of work ethic is second to none. There's nothing like him. He's just like, literally, I tell you, we were in Italy for a competition and we trained in the morning. They worked out in the afternoon and he ran at night. And then he competed the same, like 2 days later. This is like days before his competition. Yeah. Like his work ethic is beyond. And like when he was at home, he was on his phone watching videos and studying, watching instructionals, watching matches, he's a part of a group of people who, people are paying attention to him, but they're not really paying attention to his circle. His circle is very tight. He's got his dad, who is the commander in chief of their little army, and then they got about 4 other boys that are, I say boys because they're all 20, 19, 23. They're boys to me because they could be my children. But he's got about 4 boys that are just training and living through jiu-jitsu, like wake up at 6 a.m., go for a run, take a nap, wake up at 12, 11, train again. They are literally just living this as a professional sport, and they are making money and they're changing the game and just getting better every single day. They took the sport that we trained as a hobbyist and they took it to a new level. They got professional nutritionists, they got they're working with mental coaches, strength and conditioning coaches. They're working with multiple strength and conditioning coaches, for explosion, for speed, they're just, like I said, they've took the aspect of training to a new atmosphere that doesn't exist. And they're so young and they're so dedicated and they're doing it like just to the next level. And I was able to sit with this kid's dad for, his name's Melky. I was able to sit with Melky, Mika's dad, for like 2 or 3 days and just having conversations and kind of picking his brain. And he just blew me away. Like, I literally came home with a new perspective of my training and a new perspective of the way I should be training my kids and the way I should be training the youth of my gym, because of him.
Give us a tip, anything. What's one good thing that he told you that you were like, okay?
The number one thing that he told me is, Melky is he's my age. He's 41, 42, something like that. And he goes, man, I'm not the best athlete in the world. He goes, I'm a black belt in jiu-jitsu. I've been training jiu-jitsu, since early 2000s. And he goes, I've never competed and won anything. He goes, I truly know jiu-jitsu through watching and training, but I'm not an athlete. I can't tell you that I can, be the best athlete in the world. He goes, but I have an eye for seeing things that most people don't see. He goes, jiu-jitsu, most people see jiu-jitsu as, for example, you're a trainer, right? You train athletes in your gym and you have professional fighters and you have jiu-jitsu athletes. He goes, what I realized is that I can't do everything myself. And that when I realized that and I was able to hire the best people in each individual discipline to train each athlete that I have, and each of them have their own disciplined instructors, and then unite behind that and correct those instructors that are doing their part. So, he for example, his son has a two to three different strength and conditioning coaches, right? And they all work in sync with each other. And he has, a nutritionist. They have a mental, person who works with their mind for competition. He has them doing wrestling classes with a wrestling coach. He has them doing judo classes with a judo coach. He has series of instructionals that they work for like 2 months at a time. They work just to work a series for 2 months. He goes, if they can work this series and they can develop 3 moves through the year, 3 months, work 3 moves within 3 months, right? Let's say they learn 3 moves for 3 months, right? If you can improve 3 moves in 3 months and you can improve 12 moves in a year, how much bigger does your game just get, right? If you have 12 moves that you weren't that good at last year, now you know them like as if they were your move. You know what I mean? They're yours. You know what I mean? And he goes, and I know that not everybody's going to do it the same. So, each person kind of does it the way they want, but they're implementing it. And he implements them into training and he implements them into specific rounds. And it's not always about hard rounds. It's more about consistency and quantity than it is about going hard, but he said the number one thing is just empowering other people to help him do the job he needs done. Like a team. Like, think as if you had a football team, right? Or a basketball team. You got a defensive coach, you got an offensive coach, you got a reserve coach, you got a strength and conditioning coach, you got a sports nutrition, physical coach, and he's got a team of people just working on these boys that he works with, and he's just, and they're all of their funds that they make go into one pot. They just use that money to better their team. And he's not bettering just his boys and his sons. He's bettering his whole community in Brazil where he lives, which is really poor. And that was the really big thing to me. I was like, man, he's like bringing a bunch of people who don't have a lot together to see that there's a hope. You know what I mean?
Wow.
And it's cool, man. Because like most people get rich, they brag about they got their nice cars and their big houses and, oh, look at me, I'm rich. Ain't nobody care about nobody else. When you start making change in your life, the number one thing you should do is try to change other people's lives and help them. Help others. Reach. Put that resource that you got to use to better yourself. And his dad's doing that in Brazil, and it's, after hanging out with him and having a good conversation with him, it just made me go, wow, like this is there's a reason why these group of boys are special, you know?
That's amazing. Do you think he wins Abu Dhabi next month?
I think, JT Torres is a tall task for anybody. I speak
Yeah.
from experience.
Yeah.
I did do very well with JT, I thought, in my last match. And Mika he's got that game. Like I say, he's got the Marcelo Garcia game, and me and you can resemble on this because you'll understand where I'm going to go with this conversation. JT Torres is much like a Pablo Popovich at this point in his life, right? You agree or disagree?
Yeah.
He's
True.
Super sharp, strategist, athletic, doesn't make many mistakes. And Marcelo made a lot of mistakes. If you watch Marcelo's matches, he was full of mistakes. Mika makes mistakes, but Mika's a finisher, and he is so good at finishing. And he's the kind of person, if he gets one edge on you, and he will take you apart. He'll just move in speed and direction that you can't keep up with. So, and Marcelo was much like that too, very fast and athletic and just agile and just like almost slow, and then he wasn't slow, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. I think it's a 50-50 match at this point. I think JT only gets the 50-50 at this point with it because he has the edge of
experience.
Yeah, but I think Mika is definitely the next level athlete. So it's gonna be a tall order for him.
Yeah, this Abu Dhabi is looking to be just incredible. With Mo is doing a great job of just totally just revamping it. I remember when I went in 2015, it was okay. So you were there, Sao Paulo. It was like okay,
terrible.
But now, oh my god, yeah. Our trials had.
I'll be honest with you. All of the tournaments, all the ADCCs I ever went to. Brazil was cool because it was in Brazil.
Yeah.
But it was poorly ran. It was the worst poorly ran one that I went to, and that was the one I know you went to. That I'm like, I keep thinking about. Like, I went to Spain and I went to England, and Barcelona was really cool. I didn't compete in Barcelona, even though I went. I was there because I was there with Pablo and Cyborg as their coach and a backup for the tournament. But that event was really cool. England was very cool. I didn't go to China because I got hurt, and then I went to Brazil, and Brazil was poorly ran. And then the very next year in Finland. Finland was so freaking cool. Finland was very, very nice. And then the one in California last year, 2 years ago, that was amazing. Yeah. So, and then they're promising that it's going to be nicer than that one. And I believe it because the trials, the West Coast trials was very cool. So I feel like they will take this to the next level.
What do you think about the matches this coming Sunday? Does Gordon lose to Philippe?
Oh man, I don't think so.
You think he's?
I haven't said this anywhere. This is the first time I'm going to say it in public. Yeah. So I fought Felipe, I fought Gordon, and I fought Pedro Moreno. All right. So I fought all three of these guys, and they all three kind of resemble each other. So Pedro just fought Gordon.
Yeah.
And and we saw how that went. And when I fought Gordon, what I felt was he had like glue on his hands. Felt like he had like sticky tape to his fingers. Like it literally felt impossible to move away from him. Every time you move, he moves. Every time he grabs, he hangs on a little bit more. And he's learned to float his weight very well on top to the point where he's just diminishing you and he's just tiring you out. And I think Felipe has a really good guard. I think he will withstand that for a short period of time. But I don't think it'll last that long because when I faced him here in England, in Italy a couple of weeks ago, about a month ago, he got tired underneath me. He was like literally about 6 minutes into the match, he stood up. And I know he stood up because his legs were exhausted because I was leaning on him and I was switching directions and I was pressing him on the floating. And I'm not as big as Gordon, nor as strong as him, and I may generate similar pressure, but I know it's not the same pressure, you know. And I honestly think Gordon will cut through his guard and do to him what he did to Pedro Marino, and eventually, you know, it's a submission only match. Eventually, get him. You know, the only way I see Gordon losing, okay, and there's always a chance because you know, jiu-jitsu and any kind of fighting, there's always a chance, right? They call it puncher's chance. There's always a chance is if he loses a little bit of his humility in the process of beating him and makes a stupid mistake by, you know, by trying to show off, I guess, or overestimate or underestimating him, some form of him just, being too cocky, which I believe could happen because Gordon has that in him. But I really technically, I don't see Felipe being able to do much with his guard. Gordon seems to be wrestling too, because he took Pedro Marino down. He tried to wrestle me in our match, and I don't know what made him decide not to. But the first 2 minutes he stood up.
He didn't want to get clubbed.
Yeah, he clubbed me. I clubbed him back, and then I said, "Oh, you're gonna become a wrestler today? Okay, all right. I see where we're going with this." And then he smiled and he pulled guard. So I was like, all right, maybe not. But he pulled guard. And when he pulled me in so fast into a position that normally I don't get swept in. And the guys even at Flow commented this that I hadn't been swept in 4 years. I didn't even know this. They went through my stats. I hadn't been swept in 4 years, and Gordon did it in like 30 seconds. It just unreal. His technique is sharp and ahead of everybody else at this point. So, and he's got the size and youth for it. So I don't know. I really don't see Felipe being able to win this match.
You think Galvao has a chance? Andre Galvao?
I think Galvao has a better chance than Felipe Pena. A reason why I think is because of the rule sets of the match that they're facing in, and the fact that Gordon is in the weight class of the tournament. Like, he's got to fight 4 matches before he even faces Galvao. So there's got to be a little wear and tear in that. You know what I mean? Like, he's not going to face 4 regular guys. He's facing 4 of the best heavyweights in the world in one tournament, and then fighting Galvao in a super fight match where the match starts on the feet, and and the rule set is favorable to the guy who can wrestle.
Yeah.
So I that's definitely Galvao has a better chance than Felipe Pena. But there's always like that thing again. This guy's just got that pressure. I was after my match with Galvao, after my match with Gordon, I was sure. I was like, man, I don't know if Galvao can win because I feel like me and him have similar styles. Me and Galvao, and I was like, And then the slap, situation, him putting himself in that position where, he's got more than just winning to prove, So I feel like that put him in a position where he's got more to prove, beating Gordon isn't going to be an option. He has to be Gordon to stand up to everything that happened. You know what I mean? Like, him winning will be like a cherry on his cake for this situation that he put himself through, being able to be in that position, and it's kind of embarrassing for him, I know he might feel that way too, because, he allowed this to happen to himself. He's a good guy. I know Galvao personally. I've had many conversations with him, and for him to put himself in that position to be in a scenario where he's in a confrontation with another person like that, and then, he had to hold himself back to not get in an actual fist fight, and embarrass more of himself. I think the match is the only thing he has now that could help his legacy in his future, So I think, because of the rules, because of Gordon facing other matches, I think the fight is pretty even right now, you know.
Okay.
And Galvão is a freak, you know. He's another freak, physical freak, you know.
I roll with
So
him.
we can only we can only know uh we can only know who's gonna come to this match. You know what I mean? Like it's got to be the best version of him coming. You know?
Yeah. And he is 40 years old. 40 years
Yeah,
old.
he is. He's 40. He's our age. When
Yeah.
you rolled with him when you did a seminar at your place?
Yeah. No,
How was that?
it was like 2012. I rolled with him. And he
Oh,
wasn't
yeah,
going very hard, but I felt him, man. He's a solid, just patient. His passing was on point, strong as hell, and just wasn't in a rush for anything. And then when it came, he put it on. So he's good. But yeah, again, he's 40 years old. You're 40. How do you feel at 40 compared to like when you were in Abu Dhabi when you were 30? Like, is this a big difference? Is it better? Is it worse?
Funny enough, I was able to watch some of my matches recently because the Flow put on all these old matches on their site. They put up all the 2009, 11, 15, I think 13 even. I'm not sure. I know they didn't get 13 because 13 had an issue with it. But I got most of the matches that I've been in on ADCC. I got to watch them, and I was watching myself, and it's weird. I'm like looking at myself, and I'm like, who's that guy? You know, was that really me? Like that was me doing that? Like doing that those like I know what people feel, how they feel about me when they watch me fight, because the intensity that I bring in matches and the way I act and what I do, and I say the way I act because I'm always like in your face and just like amped up to go, you know. Yeah, that's different. That's not me now, you know. I am still similar to that person, but I am not doing exact same things I was doing, you know, 10 years ago. I can't. You can never be the same person, you know.
Right.
But there is a remnants of me there. There's things of me. I take the good that I used to do then and I use it now, and the bad I'm like put it to the side. You know, like I would get ramped up about even small little wins, you know, little battles, and I know that was stupid. You know, like it's a waste of energy. Like all right, I almost got it. I don't need to ramp up about that. Like I don't need to tell nobody. I need to keep it moving and do it again. You know, and that's what I learned. You know, in the last couple of years, as opposed um, to who I was and who I am now. You know, and I do feel better. Yeah, I feel a lot better at 40 than I did at 30 or even 35.
That's amazing. So do you think the fact that Galvao is 40 doesn't really play a factor in the match with Gordon?
I think that's each person's different, right? I think physically, you know, I'm sure he feels great. It's all about how much does he really want it, you know? How much more does he have to prove? And that was my concern before the slap. You know, the slap just added that to it. You know, like all right, now he's got something to prove. Like now he needs to win. You know, so what do you think?
I think Gordon wins, but I really, really, really want Galvao to win. I want him to just that last thing. I'm not saying Gordon's gonna win. I think Galvao can win, but my personal opinion, I want Galvao to just watching the smack and how everything was handled and like just I mean, I feel like he's got the style for Abu Dhabi to at least beat him. I don't know if he's going to submit him if he gets a takedown or if he, can control him without getting swept. You know what I mean? Like he could play the game, like you said, the Popovich, Daniel Marias back in the day. You know those kinds of those games. If he plays that game, if he goes submission for submission, I think Gordon, takes it. But I guess we'll see. I'm going to be there, so I'll be in attendance. So I can't wait and watch you and all the guys.
Cool.
But one more thing, tell me about your kids, man, because it just seemed like 2 years ago, Achilles was like a kid, and now he's like a freaking 6 foot plus man, like beating really good guys in these tournaments in this last year. So what the hell happened there?
A lot of hard work, man. This is labor that people don't see. You know, this work that we put inside the house, our family, my son and daughter. Jasmine is the number one reserve for the minus 60 kilogram ADCC girls ADCC bracket.
Right.
So she's the number one. She's the #1 reserve. If someone gets hurt, she'll be invited.
She got
And,
second in the trials, right?
She got
Jasmine?
second in the trials in the West Coast. She got third in Brazil's trials, which is each country holds one trials for the women. So she got second in West Coast, third in Brazil, where she lost to the champion, and then she got fourth at the East Coast, where she lost to the same champion that won the West Coast. So she only lost to the girls who won the tournament. And both the girls that won are just phenomenal. So she's not like she lost to scrubs. She lost to the two best girls, one of which is the best in the world in Yi, and the other one is a phenom that she won both the trials, both the American trials, and she had great performances, you know, and in one of the trials, one of the girls that she lost to, she was winning within 30 seconds left. She lost the match. She got swept with 30 seconds left, and she was winning the match. So she was up. It's awesome, you know. These kids, Jasmine has just turned 20. You know, Achilles is 15, and I see them, you know, kind of making their way through, you know, the field of these tournaments. That I know how hard it is, you know. Some people don't understand how hard these tournaments are, and you know, they both made it through many matches, many good matches against many good people, and I'm proud of them. You know, I'm proud of them. I'm proud of their work. Proud of how much time they involved in each match. Hold on one second, Matt.
Are you good?
So with that being said, I just I think they just got to keep going. You know, they got nothing but time. You know, these kids at this age, all they got to do is just keep training, keep working to progress to get to that next level. You know, if they just keep consistent for the next 5 years, they'll be living on the legacy of my family, I guess.
Is that what they want to do? Do they want to teach jujitsu and do that after school?
Jasmine graduated high school already, and Achilles is homeschooled and focused and ready to be a world champion. Yeah, both of them.
Awesome.
Yeah, she's here already at the pro training. Achilles just finished training. They've already done 2 sessions today, both of them. It's like and Jasmine helps run my gym. You know, she's my program director at the school. She basically is the coordinator of everything that happens inside the school.
Amazing. Awesome, dude. Well, good stuff, brother. Thanks for talking with me today.
Always a pleasure, Matt. Always good seeing you. Always good to be part of you know, this community that you've grown there, and and be involved.
And we will get some training in before Abu Dhabi, 100%.
Please, we'd love for you to come down, or I'm going to come up. Either way.
Yeah. And I'll see you then, brother. Thank you.
Always, man. Take care, brother.
Good luck with everything. See you, bud.